Hey guys, welcome back to another one of these time-lapse commentary videos, where this time I will be a little bit of an error recording this on 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 my computer downstairs where I do all the video game stuff instead of my art computer. So my mic should be more what you're used to. Not to say it's good, but it's probably a smidge better than the other one, and also probably just better sound in this room, I think. I don't know. The other thing is just like, OBS is super unstable up there. I tried recording this video in the past. Actually, a much longer version of it, because the time lapse itself is 2.5 hours long by default. Doubling that would having that, doubling the speed, only gets you to 1 hour 15 minutes, and that was the length of the original video. And then the recording failed. And so I have to do it again. But this time I've taken the video and I've sped it up by 4. So we're gonna play it at 4x. I don't feel like doubling that. Because it would be a little bit too fast. But first I wanted to show off the final versions of the picture. And I did make an alt version. It's not included in the time lapse, but here it is. A little bit cleaned up where it's not as hectic. So, since this picture was kind of a vent piece, like vent art for me, dealing with like stress about health troubles and stuff, I like the main version better. I know this version's probably a little bit more pleasing to the eye and eye-catching and whatnot, but yeah, so I like this version more because it better captures my I don't know. Also, like, one of the reasons I don't like this one version as much is I ended up covering up a lot of the line work on, like, the hand, for example, which I ended up spending some amount of time on just to, like, completely bury it, but whatever. We'll get the actual time-lapse going now. Why is... Okay. Anyway, okay, good, Spotify thing is capturing it now. So yeah, on this picture, I do separate the construction layer and the sketch layer as two different layers. Probably part of the reason why it took a little longer than normal, but I just figure you may notice that as I get near the end of the construction layer and start a fresh one, that's the sketch. Still a little sloppy, like, if I was doing a colored sketch for someone, it would still be cleaner than that layer was, but yeah. So yeah, the big motivating factor this picture was just kind of health stuff, so it is definitely sloppier, even though I put more time into it. It was something to take my mind off it while also channeling the stress I was having into something. So the idea of sliding out of control or whatnot. But yeah, so I'm kind of using the sketch layer to box out the different shapes, using, selector tools and resizing them to help get my proportions correct. I kind of have to fumble with it a little bit to get it to work the way I want it to, because I've drawn myself at an angle, resizing based off of up and down, whatever. But I get it, I figure it out. There we go. Because I had the second issue of like, I needed it to be not just shorter, but also wider. I'm not a lanky figure. Luca is not lanky, he is fairly stocky. But yeah. So there may be small pauses while I was getting up and doing things. There is one point where during the sketch, I think, where I step away and have to pause the video, and then I come back and I skip ahead slightly. I write a note, but it probably is going to flash by so fast at 4x speed that it doesn't really matter. We'll see. See how legible it is. But yeah, so boxing out the head here because the original construction was not so great, so I'm just getting a better sort of shape to work off of. There we go. Finally landing on that sort of angle. And yeah, so the gun in this picture, I totally freehanded, didn't reference any particular type of pistol. Not the normal gun that I have Luca carry, and it just matches his outfit. And yeah, for the background, it's back to my sort of like mental headspace of like a shattered landscape or whatever, made of glass. I could get into the whole symbolism and whatnot. It doesn't matter. Just I hope it looks neat, I guess. But for me, it's a good mental representation of things. But yeah. Getting the sketch layer has started now. So again, it's still sloppier, but it's. Oh yeah, I did have the machete in this picture, but I ended up not including it in the inking layer. But I'm actually like sketching out the actual picture of Luca now instead of just the general shape of his body and whatnot. So this is kind of the value of construction, is that it lets you just kind of get the sketch almost bang on, and it just having a sketch layer that is bang on lets you have like a first pass at like, okay, what do I want to include, what don't I want to include, and not, you can be a bit sloppy about things. Or if you want to just do a colored sketch, I mean, you can do a little bit cleaner and neater than what I'm doing here, but you still want to do a separate construction layer most likely, just so that you can have something to be what you're sketching off of. Again, it doesn't have to take you very long to do a construction layer. The whole point is that you're just trying to get like the general proportions down and the general shape, like the shape the figure you're drawing is taking up in the world. And not only that, you know, composition and stuff of like where in the image they're going to be located, which I end up moving everything a little bit later because it makes more sense of the background. But yeah. And I did not expect my voice to dry out so fast. I did record a little bit before this, but my voice was not having this issue, and I actually had a can of tea in between, so whoops. But yeah, so getting facial features in now. I've kind of just sculpting out the eye there, is blacking it out and everything, just wasn't getting the shape I wanted. Unfortunately, yeah, like the anatomy of the hips and stuff, and that left arm on the right side of the image, I kind of just went with it instead of getting too in the weeds about making it look perfect. Because, again, it's not very serving its purpose as event art if I get hung up on something too much. Okay, so now we're on the inking. Probably a good, I don't know how to check my progress through this. I'd say we're probably about a third, maybe about an hour and a half in. No, but probably about an hour in, a little bit. As I do the inking. I actually spent more time on the coloring than anything else, I suspect. In part because part of the coloring was going back and fixing the lines I did, because the inking layer was a little bit fast. And like, I think one thing I want to clarify from like a past time lapse is that what I mean by confidence with working with lines, it's not just like putting the one line down. You have to do it with some speed. Even with stabilization on, if you're gonna draw really slowly, maybe you'll end up with lines you like, but it's gonna be really hard to get the line weight that feels like, I don't know, it feels good. The way you get that varied line weight is you just kind of, you make the strokes quickly. And so naturally your hand presses more in the middle of a stroke and like is lighter on the front and back end. And you can modulate that, obviously. Both hardware-wise. Like this brush, I have line weight a little bit more dramatic than some of my other brushes. And I need to get better with line weight, but I think it's definitely the thing. Like here, I'm thinning stuff out because having everything be so thick is sometimes makes it look like you're trying to hide bad lines. So very thin lines that gives a better notion of like a higher detail, higher skill image. It feels like it's better and cleaner. But just because you have thin lines or thinner lines, the way I'm thinning them is taking into account their current weight. So still having that variety in the line weights is important. So if you draw your inking lines very slowly and you're wondering what can I do to improve, I would again recommend trying to go faster. And if you're scared about that, it really is just, you have to be confident and you have to practice. Faster, more confident, and I swear that is like one of the biggest steps. And that was probably a step I took about 5 or 6 years ago. And if I had to point to any one, besides trying pot for the first time, if I had to point to any one event that had a dramatic improvement on my skills as an artist and like the end results of what I put in, it is that change in how I did line work. And that was like 2016, 2017. Because prior to that, lines were like the bane of my process. I hated it. It was slow and arduous, and a lot of it came down to just not having the confidence. And some of it is you just stop doing lines for a bit, and you try to get more confident with your line work and your sketches, and get larger, bolder lines from just drawing quickly. Maybe setting up a pen tool that makes line weight more dramatic. And maybe getting more comfortable if you have the tools available to you to affect line weight. So like, I do lines in a vector layer in Clip Studio Paint so that I can clean the lines quickly like this. I set my eraser up to just clear the whole line between its 2 connection points, which makes cleanup very quick. And it also lets me resize the lines with vector tools in Clip Studio Paint, which really lets you do a lot. Because you don't have to redraw something with a thinner pen, you can just kind of scale it up and down. And so like that's kind of the more recent thing I've been practicing with, using those more and more. Yeah, getting the most out of the program I've got. And yeah, you can see I'm even here with this line layer, I'm kind of getting a little sketchy with it and sloppy. But like, if I was trying to really make this picture look fantastic, I would slow down and clean that stuff. Make sure I have one solid, confident line. Not slow down in the sense of drawing slower. I'd have fast brush strokes, but I would make sure it would be all one line instead of multiple lines that kind of sketch a shape. Because that's what the sketch layer is for. You're trying to you sketch out those details and you find what looks good, and then you want your line layer to draw that out. You don't want your line layer to feel so dead. And that's an issue that I still struggle with. And the biggest thing that makes lines feel alive is line weight. The reason why sketches so often feel like they're more alive even if they're messier... Oh yeah, this is where I skip ahead a little bit by accident. It's a lot, mostly it's just cleanup around the lines. Yeah, the biggest thing that makes sketches feel more alive and feel like they're better, and like, oh, you switch to the lines layer, and now all the character you had kind of falls out of the picture. It's line weight. It's 100% line weight, and you're like, but how? Maybe you don't even sketch with a pencil that has varying, or a pen or pencil or whatever that has a varying weight, or a significantly varying weight. It's because you're imitating line weight with multiple sketches and with multiple line strokes. And thicker lines is kind of a way to bridge that gap. When you start doing work with much thicker lines, and if you look back at my artwork from a couple years ago, I was getting more and more into thicker lines. It gives you sort of a groundwork of like, okay, the variations in how the weight is a lot obvious and a lot more clearer, and so it's like training wheels for learning to get better with line weight. And so, like with a tablet that has pressure sensitivity, which hopefully most people have, because I don't know if there's modern tablets that don't have that, but I guess some old ones might not. That's a really important tool to be able to get those natural looking lines and take advantage of that with your pens. I know some artists who are more popular than me who struggle more with line weight than I do, and I think they could probably substantially improve their game if they practiced more with their brushes. Like, they set up brushes to take advantage of line weight and whatnot. I think they could see some great results. And I'm not saying this in some position that I'm some great artist. Trust me, I have quite a ways to go. My line work is shoddy. But I know how good I used to be, and I know that the types of things that I'm talking about now are a big part of why I am a lot better than I was even just a couple years ago. Part of that's also weed, admittedly. Just to circle back to that again, I will admit that starting using weed a few years ago. Not really this year. Besides, CBD for anxiety and stuff, but that did help. But that's really, you gotta be in your 20s. I don't recommend anyone under that fucking with that stuff. It's developmental issues. Anyway, not what this is about. So I will say that yes, if you're a adult artist and you're thinking, should I don't know. I'm not gonna go advocate anything for anyone, because there's risks and other stuff, so do your own research. I will just speak from my experience that I had kind of felt like I was hitting a bit of a plateau in terms of my ability to realize what I was artistically envisioning, and when I added THC into the equation, it was Delta 8 at the time, because it was not yet legal in Maryland, but Delta 8 was. It kind of unlocked, like, art skills, and it wasn't like, oh, I magically acquired, more ability in art. It connected the dots between some of this color theory stuff I knew and, like, things I would visualize and how to translate that into the art itself. And I feel like it helped me grow up a bit as an artist too. And I experimented more with certain styles and it worked out for me. But again, that's just my experience. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I'm just rambling about stuff is coloring layer is the one that takes the longest. And it's also really annoying the way I had my color tool set up. I guess it was not, the fills weren't really leaving a lot of gaps. So I was having to take multiple passes to get little corners filled in on like the stripes and stuff. But I get there eventually. Also, I did mess up the lines on that toe on the left foot. I'll fix it later. Oh yeah. Let's see. We are 20 minutes in, so that's probably 2/3, maybe halfway. No, we're about halfway, past halfway. I think I said it earlier, 1/3 of the way, and we were only like 1/4 of the way. We're gonna be on the colors for a little bit here still, I think, before we even get on to. There's the background I work on and all the shading, and that takes longer than it might usually as well. Oh yeah. What else can I talk about art-wise? I don't know. I guess just like, if you guys have questions, voice them in the comments of these videos, because it's a great way for me to see what people are wondering about. I guess I should also take the opportunity to again plug that I am indeed open for commissions. And I take extra care and time when it comes to working on commissions, so that you don't have the same sort of glaring kind of, you know, errors that my personal art, especially my vent art, tends to have. I don't cut I don't cut corners the same sort of way. But yeah. So, you know, if you want to figure out the best way to contact me, Discord and email. Those are the best 2 ways. Twitter, you can try DMing me. I might check DMs from time to time. I may be open Twitter on desktop once a day. But email, especially Discord, is gonna be the best bet. And make sure you let me know that you are looking to commission me, because I do occasionally get bots and stuff. You know, the bane of my existence is people posing as artists and soliciting for commission. That's not the way to do it, guys. So, let me know that you are interested in commissioning me. Don't just say hi, because, like, you know. I mean, you can say hi and whatever, just... make sure I know if you're looking to just chat, or if you're looking for commissions or whatnot. Okay, I fixed the toe right here. It just makes things easier on my stress, and easier for everyone. But yeah, I 100% recommend Discord, and if you don't use Discord, email. I'm probably going to need your email either way to handle PayPal and stuff, so you might as well email, I guess, but Discord is the fastest way probably to get my attention. Yeah. So I end up kind of fitting the outfit to the color palette of the whole picture too, and the gun ends up just being part of the outfit. very much the theme of flipping out of control, but maintaining preparedness to try and keep fighting. That sort of kind of complicated feeling about it, I suppose. Where I don't... It is definitely the sensation of like, oh god, I'm losing control, I'm, you know, I don't know how this is gonna go, but... Also, yeah, I'm fixing that little error in the mask. Yeah. Oh. Okay. And yeah, as the error with the toe kind of came because I've actually changed that detail of Luca. I think I'm sticking with... I'm not certain. I'm not going to commit to it yet, but I think I'm going with the whole bottom of the foot is skin, is one pad. I mean, there are the specific pads still, but like the specific beans, if you will, but also in between the toes and everything. The webbing and everything beneath is all skin. That's the design I'm going to go for the footballs, I think, from now on. Not sure if I'm going to completely commit to that, but for now, that's what I'm doing. I think it's more fitting for an otter. Less, it kind of helps reduce the sort of canineness of my paws, although I still don't know if I want to go for 5 toes. Maybe I'll experiment with that in the future. I know I've mentioned saying that I was going to try it in the past, but I don't know. 4 is a very comfortable number for me. It looks good. I'd be worried about trying to figure out how to make 5 look good. But yeah, we're on to the background now of sort of the shattered glass landscape, which is symbolism for me reforging a new path forward and identity forward and getting a handle on my emotional state when what I have to work with is a shattered, like my former identity, my memories, my life sort of, you know, feels like it was broken and shattered in like 2013, 2014, and I had to sort of pick the pieces back up. And they're very sharp and broken, and they take refinement to try and figure out how to put everything back together. That's kind of my headspace. And it's not all bad, obviously. It's just the way I visualize everything, and like, there are good things about it too. Because I think it gives me an ability to better analyze, you know, and like kind of the stuff resulted from therapy as well. It's a better ability to reflect on myself more, in some ways more objectively, and, you know, give myself a bit of slack where I might not have in the past. So I have a lot of broken glass brushes as a result. Some of them I downloaded, others I have made myself. I think the one in the background, I think this might be a downloaded brush from the Clip Studio Marketplace. But the rounded glass pebbles, that was the brush I made. All the pebbles that I'm sliding in that you'll see in a moment when I add that layer. It is also, for more experienced artists, I do recommend try building out some brushes to play with. Not just like sort of these niche brushes, but like try different brushes for lines and stuff. My personal take is I do like the cleanness of just a normal pen with like a lot of line weight variation. But sometimes, especially for venti stuff, like this is more of a traditional image for a vent piece, but other times I've done sketches with more experimental brushes. The best thing is, though, I've made myself my cloud brush, which I'm quite proud of and happy with, and like also my brush for grass and leaves and all those brushes I drew myself. Or that I used other brushes that existed to make brushes. Or I used those brushes to make a brush, which is the case with my clouds, I think, is there is a cloud brush that existed. I took that and painted out a larger cloud structures, and then I took those and painted out even more detailed cloud structures with that. And then those became the basis of the cloud brush. And I might even update that, because actually I feel like I see too much repeats. There's only like probably 5 or 6 clouds in that. And so I want to actually sit down and like make a ton of different clouds and build out a new cloud brush. I also need like a less intense cloud brush, but I don't want to just use the downloaded one I have. I want to just make one. Something that is like, it's not the best brush if I want to make like a happy scene with very like lower detail, but very still good quality clouds. No, I'll figure it out. Yeah. But yeah, this leaf brush is again one that is completely from my own creation. It's actually 3 different brushes that I have made, put together. A maple, oak, and green oak. Black oak and green oak. Probably tell from the leaves. There is actually other leaves I could have added into this. I should actually update this brush, because I have like cherry leaves and stuff that I could also use. Maybe I'll get around to that at some point. And if you're commissioning me like a big amount, I have been known to make custom brushes. Hell, I've been known to just do that anyways, if I want to get a commission looking real nice. Unless I actually start getting a rush of commissions, I'm probably going to be giving you more than your money's worth of my time. Just to be perfectly honest. Because I want to make sure I get things right. And if I don't have another commission that I have to juggle against it, then sure, you're going to get probably more than the amount you're paying for in terms of how much time and effort I'm putting into a picture. I can't say that will always be the case if I ever become more popular, but at this point in time, yeah, I don't get many commissions, so please feel free. It'd help. It would help. But yeah. Yeah, we're working on the shading layers now, and I'm doing my normal thing of the kind of just painting on, and then I will go back and change it to overlay or whatnot, and blur the entire layer with a filter. And you probably make multiple copies of it. I will actually, I think I blur the layers more in this than I might normally to kind of capture the feeling a little bit better, but yeah. general sort of light source from the upper left. Not really trying to do anything super sophisticated with the lighting in this one. I guess the gun is sort of like, in my mind, it's something akin to either a Glock or a SIG or something like that. It's a very boxy sort of design. I'm looking at it. Oh, I guess that's sort of what I had in mind. Yeah, I applied the blur, multiple versions of the layer, applying different overlays and changing percentages around. And now, I think we're getting onto the lighting, the highlights. You're going to do the same sort of thing again, but with lights instead of darkness. Yep. We're just about done. Gotta clean this up a little bit, and then I'm gonna be putting the final gradients onto the picture. It should actually probably go by pretty fast, I have to imagine. I do spend a fair amount of time on the shading, and like, the little automatic time lapses, that breezes by that stuff so fast, whereas it is a more involved process. It's just the reason the rest of the time lapses take up more time in those automatic ones is it's recording each brush stroke as an individual action. Whereas like I'm taking more time to think and see what I'm doing here. So I'd have a bit these proper time lapses. Unfortunately, maybe I'll start trying to record my display. It's just sometimes I drag just Chrome across the display. But you're not seeing the menus that I'm popping open when I'm like looking at applying gradients and blurring layers and whatnot. Kind of hard to keep track of what I'm doing still, but it's it's more obvious that I'm still doing something, as opposed to just kind of it all falling together in the last second in those time lapses. Kind of the vibe of like draw the rest of the fucking owl, that meme. Not my intent. The colors do take some back and forth, and some of it is just kind of, I have some gradients I like to use a lot, or I layer multiple gradients over each other. Like we're in the gradients part now. I am fiddling. Just kind of getting the feel for what I want. Also, I sometimes airbrush on a gradient or something where it's not such a clean gradient anymore, but it helps kind of draw out the colors, make the contrast pop a bit more. Yeah. Using an overlay of purple to kind of make the background drop back a bit. Dark purple. And using the this aqua layer to try and make foreground come out. Grabbing my watermark here. Trying to figure out where to put it, where it kind of feels like it nestles in well. Is that where I leave it? I don't remember. I feel like I move it again, but maybe I don't. How long is this video? I thought it was 38 minutes. I guess I spoke a bit at the beginning. So, 40-minute video. Okay. Let's see. It's pretty much done, so I have to imagine, right? We'll see if I do anything else after this, but I think it's about ready. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was it. So, let me switch back to the final. There we go. Scoot it over a bit. Okay. So, that's that. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you want to commission me, ask questions in the comments, join the Discord, all that. I always stick the link tree in the comments, in the description of these videos. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Later.